What's your name and what's the biggest red flag in a guy?
I'm Tina, and I'll say the biggest red flag in a guy is when they have a girl best friend that they swear they have nothing with. But you can definitely tell from the interactions and the way she behaves, there's something going on.
My name's Katie, and I think the biggest red flag is if he's in Ross and then also in a frat. I have nothing against Ross people. It's just some Ross people can get a little bit more arrogant, but only from my experience.
My name's Meghana, and I would have to say when they send like good morning texts, but also like you up texts at the same time. I don't think they go together.
Did that ever happen to you?
I'll say no comment on that.
My name is Hamad Khan. Biggest red flag in a girl, if she doesn't play Clash of Clans. I'm Town Hall 14. I'm ranked 250 in the world.
My name's also Hamad. I would say if she doesn't play Clash of Clans, also Clash Royale. If she plays Clash Royale, that's a red flag because we don't play Clash Royale.
What's your rank in Clash of Clans?
Probably 2,000 in the world.
How much do you guys play every day?
About 3 to 4 hours. We're grinding, trying to become the best in the world because we're failing everything here.
My name is Hillary, and the biggest red flag is when he tells you there's nothing to worry about in a girl, and then he dates the girl.
I think it's smooth though, no?
How is it smooth? I mean, I guess. For him, not for me.
My name is Christian. Biggest red flag for a guy. When he, what was I saying? What did I say?
I don't know.
When he just got out of a relationship and he starts looking right away, don't you want to take time for yourself first instead of going in right away to another relationship?
Now, how long should they wait before they get into a new one?
That's a good one. I had so many conversations with people like this. I know a lot of people that just got out of a relationship, and you usually don't see people between 2 to 4 months after the relationship. So somewhere between those times. Probably 4 months, but I don't know.
My name's Iris. I think the biggest red flag for me in a guy is disrespectful in other people. I noticed that a lot of guys, when they are in the restaurants, for example, and if they are really rough on the waitress, if they did something wrong, I don't think I will be okay with the guy like that. That is a red flag for me.
What would they do?
I remember there was a time I was sitting next to a table and the waitress probably offered a wrong dish, and the guy started shouting, yelling at the waitress and say, "Oh, we did not order this. Why did you do this to us? And it's not a good service." I was like, it's okay. Everybody makes mistakes. So I feel she was really helpless at that moment and just apologized all the time.
My name is Amelia, and my biggest red flag is if a guy has too clean of a room.
Why is that?
Just means he thought I was gonna go in his room, like he was preparing for it.
Did that ever happen to you?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago.
How did it go though?
Not bad. He was very respectful. It wasn't bad.
So even though it was a red flag, it ended up really
Right,
good.
yeah, it had a positive outcome, definitely.
Hi, I'm Robert, and I think the biggest red flag in a girl is if they're really controlling and super manipulative and stuff like that. You have to go through them before you do anything or go anywhere, and they always check your phone. I think that's definitely a red flag because you're not really independent anymore.
Did that ever happen to you?
No, but I've seen relationships where one of the people in a relationship was controlling and it always ended badly, and there were always arguments and stuff like that just because the other person who wasn't being controlled wanted to go do stuff, and then the other person just didn't let them. So
I'm Zakaya, and the biggest red flag is probably not putting in effort to hang out.
Have you personally seen that kind of guy?
Yes, my last boyfriend, and then I guess situationships also.
My name's Emma. Can I hold this, or are you holding it? This is really exciting. ASMR. Okay, so what I think is the biggest red flag is leading somebody on. Don't do it. It's not very nice. I think the best thing you can do is be real.
If they act like that, how should one react to that?
Be straightforward about what you're looking for. If you think someone's leading you on, say, what do you want out of this? Do you want a relationship? Do you want to be friends with me? What are you looking for out of this? And if that person can't answer that question, I think you know that they're not really looking for anything. They just, I don't want to say playing with you, but a little bit.
My name is Naomi, and I think the biggest red flag in a girl is when it's hard to have a nice conversation because she's not really listening to what you're saying. So everything she says brings it back to talking about her.
My name is Cyrus. I think the biggest red flag is if you have an Android phone. I like my FaceTimes. Thank you. My name is Alex Moon, and I think the biggest red flag is if they're just bad at responding. If it's some like regular conversation stuff, just respond at a normal time. If you're like in mid conversation and you take an unreasonable amount of time, that's just kind of annoying. What is your name and your biggest red flag?
My name's Joseph, and I think the biggest red flag in a girl is having too many guy friends, because having few is okay, but if she knows everyone in school, every guy in school, I don't think it's a good sign.
My name is Shannon, and I think the biggest red flag in a guy is if they wear shorts in the winter, because I think they're definitely cold, but they just want to look cooler.
I'm Shelby, and I think the biggest red flag is if someone's rude to a waiter or waitress, if they're like snapping their fingers or just not polite to them.
Have you seen that kind of person recently?
Not particularly. I'm in a pretty happy, healthy relationship.
My name is Ben. The biggest red flag for a girl is when they look at me funny.
My name was Wilson. I think the biggest red flag is lying, being not loyal, you know.
What kind of lie?
When you're being real. When they ask you, oh, do I look good? When you're being real, you say, nah. They say, oh, why you said that? You know what I'm saying?
My name's Simran. The biggest red flag in a guy might be if he doesn't tell his friends about you. It might mean he's hiding something, or he's not serious about you, or like he doesn't actually want to be with you. Like he's just in it for fun.
My name is Maddie, and I think the biggest red flag in a guy is when they have like a huge flag in their room that says something stupid, that it's like Saturdays are for the boys, or like a frat flag or something dumb like that.
Why do you think that?
It's just very telling of who they are as a person.
What kind of a person are they?
A waste of my time.
My name is Ryan, and I will also add that if a man wears socks with sandals outside when it's cold, put some proper shoes on.
My name is Owen, and I think the biggest red flag is when you just can't feel like you can just talk to them about anything, and there's always disconnect or feel like they're not listening to you.
I'm Dana, and I think if they smoke, like cigarettes or vape.
What about weed?
I probably personally wouldn't date them, but like, do you, I guess? Yeah.
If they're being flaky, because then that kind of leads to a lack of communication, for sure.
My name is Jahil, and I think the biggest red flag is when someone doesn't know like what they're looking for or what they're looking for in a partner.
What are you looking for in a partner?
Someone who's like passionate about what they're doing. They don't have to have like a plan of everything in the future, but they have like a direction and they try to like follow up on stuff, and yeah.
What's your passion?
Well, right now, my passion is staring at code right now for hours and hours and debugging it. But also acapella. Follow at Umish DJs on TikTok.
My name is Kateri, and my biggest red flag for a guy is being a fan of Kanye West. It's okay if they like his music, but if they are like a fan of him as a person. I feel like he's done some pretty controversial stuff, especially as of recent. It was a red flag before his anti-Semitic stuff, but then he added that on, and if I meet someone that's still like, no, like he's still a mentally ill person, like yes, he's mentally ill and he needs help, but we should also not use that as an excuse to like what he's saying is okay, because he's not saying okay things right now.
My name is Carly Gazelle, and I'd probably say if they can't communicate. I think knowing how to communicate really well is really important, and if you can't be like super communicative and be able to talk to your partner, that's like a super big red flag for me.
Have you personally experienced that?
Yes. There were problems with things going on in a relationship that I was in, and instead of telling me about it, they kind of just decided to keep it to themselves and like get over it, and then it ended up blowing up in our face.
What was like the main issue?
I actually don't know because he never told me.
My name is Austin, and one of the biggest red flags is if she's mean to the waiter or waitress.
My name is Riley, and Austin stole mine. I think it's a really big red flag when they're mean to waiters or staff members for absolutely no reason. But I think another big one is when they're like on the phone with their mom and they're just rude or rude in front of their parents. Like, that's a huge red flag to me.
My name's Josh, and the first thing that comes to mind is when they can't take criticism. They always think they're always right. They might be, but you know, like doesn't take any outside advice at all.
Have you personally said something to a girl, and did that ever happen to you?
No comment.
My name is Yash. I think the biggest red flag in a girl is being insecure about your friends. When you get into a relationship with someone, they have to not only accept you, but also the people that you've kind of surrounded yourself with. There can be disagreements, obviously, and you have to like listen to your significant other, but if they're insecure about every single one of your friends, then that's probably a pretty big red flag.
Have you personally experienced that?
No, not personally, but I know a couple of friends who have. They're just constantly torn. They have to like make decisions that they necessarily don't want to make just for the sake of their relationship. If there's like a planned outing a couple of weeks in advance, and then all of a sudden like the girl wants to hang out, then they have to tell their friends, hey, I can't go, my girl doesn't want me to, so stuff like that.
How are they doing now?
Everyone I know who was facing that red flag is single now, so yeah.
My name is Hadi, and I think that the biggest red flag in girls is probably the relationship they have with their parents, because that's really an indicator of the people they tend to be. They should have an open and trusting relationship with their parents. That's where I feel like the respect comes from. Otherwise, they tend to have a more distrusting attitude in a relationship.
How do you set the line for that? What would be a good line?
A good line would be someone who's at least openly honest to their parents about the things they do, and they're not really like secretive about things they do, like sneaking out behind their back, stuff like that.
My name is Ray, and I think the biggest red flag in a girl would probably be lack of trust. Like, they can't trust you in like every aspect. They just always think that you're up to like no good.
Have you personally experienced that?
Yeah, a couple of times. For example, like on a weekend, if you go out, she's constantly trying to see where you're at, or like being like on top of you while you're not like actually doing anything. You're just like hanging out with your friends or something.
My name's Leah. I think the biggest red flag is when guys go too long without trimming their toenails, and then when you lay in bed with them, they scratch you.
My name is Sophia, and I think the biggest red flag in a guy is when he speaks badly about other women to you, because I think it means that he's likely to do the same to you in the future. I've just had a guy complain about like a female friend of his to me a lot, someone who I thought he was really close with, and it just made me realize like if he's okay with doing that towards her, he's going to be okay with doing that to me too. He said that she was quirky in an annoying way.
Are you friends with that person now?
With the girl or the guy?
The guy.
We like talk occasionally, but we never hung out romantically after that.
My name is Veronica. I think it's a really big red flag when men are blonde, either naturally or box dyed or whatever.
Why is that?
It's just kind of childish, especially if it's like dyed blonde hair. I think it just draws too much attention.
My name's Claudine, and I think the biggest red flag in a guy is when he shows you like a ton of affection at the beginning of a relationship and like tries to move it really fast, like love bombs you, you know? That's happened to me with a couple of ex-boyfriends, and it ended terribly.
Praveen, and lack of reciprocation. You do a nice thing, and like there's a lot of give from your end, but not a lot of like give from their end. I guess that makes sense.
What do you think about the saying, if you love someone, you love them unconditionally?
I think that's a nice sentiment, but I think except for dogs, that's never really true.
So my name is Selma, and I would say that it's a guy who hides whenever something becomes difficult. So like whenever there's a fight, he wouldn't try to resolve it, but just like hide from the fight.
Have you personally experienced that?
I have, actually, yeah. Never ended well.
Would there be at any time where that strategy or that way of communicating is a good way of resolving the issue?
I really don't think so. With my current boyfriend, we're trying to talk about stuff very clearly whenever something goes wrong, and I think it's the best way.
So my name is Franziska, and I think for me, one of them is probably if a guy is too judgmental and gossips about people a lot and is not very tolerant to people just doing their thing, I guess. Let's say we both observe someone doing something and then that third person leaves, and then if the guy has the need to talk negatively about other people just to feel better for himself, I guess.
My name is Erin, and I think the biggest red flag in a guy specifically that goes to Michigan is if he's in Ross. Some regrettable decisions have been made with guys in Ross, and they're very embarrassing stories, but also fun stories to tell. I just think they're a little bit cocky at times, and I think their self-importance really goes up because they're in Ross.
What did they do to you?
One time, a guy was telling me how he's in Ross, and it's like a really hard school to get into, so he was saying that he's way smarter than me. But I'm in the School of Nursing, and the year that we were both admitted, the School of Nursing had a 3% acceptance rate, and Ross had a 4% acceptance rate, so I take a lot of pride in that.
My name is Shoria, and I think that it's really situational based. I've never met someone where I see them or talk to them and have a discussion and think, wow, that's a red flag. I've not had that experience. So for me, it seems like there's no such red flag unless it fits in with certain circumstances. So I don't necessarily know what could qualify as a red flag. Absolutely, I guess it's just very situational based.
My name's Tess, and my biggest red flag in a guy is when he doesn't have a great relationship with his mom or his sisters or like any women in his life.
Why is that?
So I knew this guy back in high school that I kind of had a thing with for a little bit before I realized that him and his mom had a weird relationship. He was like a single child, single mother, and he was so focused on like finding basically another mother and a girlfriend. And that was just such a red flag for me. I turned him down immediately after that.
My name is Abby, and I would say the biggest red flag is if they have an ex, because they are just never to be trusted. They're always looking for somebody like their ex. Just don't trust anybody with an ex, unless they're dead, unless their ex is dead.
My name is Trenton Michael, and my two biggest red flags in a girl, one is white women who fetishize me. That's really weird, and it's like they're watching like some dirty movies made in really poor taste or something and just can't help themselves. It's really weird. And the other big red flag is just possessive and obsessive behavior. Don't sit here and try and put a leash on me and shit. It's annoying.
Do you have some examples for both?
Do I have examples for both? Well, I remember there was this one white girl way back who I had matched with on Tinder, and out of nowhere, she was just like, I want to see that big black dick. It's kind of a weird thing to say to me, a black guy who you just met online, who you've never seen in person, who you've never seen naked. You know what I mean? Don't sit here and say that to me. It just makes me feel like I'm just a big piece of melanated meat to you. And then the other one, I've just been with people, and it's like day one, they're so sweet, and day two, they're just like, how come we talking to her? How come we not replying to my text? What's wrong with you? Did I do something that's wrong with you? I feel like you're manipulating me, you know? Like I won't reply to a text for like 2 or 3 texts, and they'll be like, I feel like you're just ignoring my texts on purpose. And I'm just like, I got shit to do. Ain't nobody sitting around texting you all day.
My name is Sanskriti, and I think the biggest red flag in a guy is when they either just don't act like they don't care about you at all, or act like they are just being really distant and uncaring towards you. Because it could be for one of two reasons, either because that's their personality, in which case why would you want to be with someone who doesn't really care much about other people or you as a person, or because they're trying to put on some sort of actor facade, and either way why would you want to be with someone who acts like that around you and towards you.
Do you have an example for that?
I don't. The only real relationship I've been in has been the complete opposite of that, where I'm with a very caring person. So I think not having that in my life and having an absence of that would be a really big red flag and would just not work for me at all.
I'm Joe. I think the biggest red flag is probably astrology. It's not my thing. I don't know how it applies to anything, but it's always brought up.
Wait, what's your astrology sign?
I'm a Virgo. What does that mean? See, that's what I mean. I don't know what any of it means. And then they're always like, oh, you're a Virgo.
Hi, I'm Mohammed Hijaz. Honestly, the biggest red flag in a girl is when they tell you that they're never going to be emotionally available. I had this one friend who said at the beginning of the friendship that she just generally doesn't let people vent to her. And I said, okay, why not? And she says, well, I just don't care much about how they feel. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's something. But of course, I still wanted to give her a chance. Maybe she was just being defensive. But a couple months later, she just didn't care. I think one day I was feeling a little down and I talked to her about it. And she's like giving me the worst advice ever. And then she starts blaming me. And I'm like, okay, wow. I just kind of wanted to talk to someone about this. So it's not always true, but sometimes if they tell you that they're not emotionally available, maybe they are not emotionally available.
My name's Leilani, and the biggest red flag in a guy is when he asks for your Snapchat, because we're in our 20s and I think we should grow up a little bit and learn how to use a phone number.
What about exchanging Instagram?
I think that's more appropriate if you don't want to give out your number.
My name is Faith, and I think my biggest red flag for a guy is not being a Christian, because I am a Christian and it's very important to me that my boyfriend and then future husband, or maybe future husband, would have the same beliefs as me.
Have you dated a guy who's not a Christian?
Yeah, I did. Not now, though. I'm dating a Christian now.
Why did you decide to date him, even though he's not a Christian?
I think that was also before I was a Christian, so it didn't matter to me back then.
I'm Savannah, and I also think that the biggest red flag is that a guy does not believe in Jesus Christ being the savior of the world, because that's the purpose for which we're living. So that's the biggest red flag for me.
Have you personally met a guy who's not a Christian romantically?
No.
Are you dating anyone right now?
No. I haven't dated anyone because I don't think that I'm going to start dating until I'm ready to be married.
What's up? I'm Rodrigo. Biggest red flag, honestly, that's got to be racism. I'm Mexican, so it's not cool.
Have you personally met a girl who's a racist?
Unfortunately, yes. I guess like living in America, you get called a beaner every now and then.
Is that what she said?
No. But I mean, I remember I've been asked, oh, do you have like internet in Mexico? Oh, do you live in like fucking like dirt huts and shit? And I'm like nah.
My name is Sohi, and I have a couple. So one...
if he's in a frat. 2, if he wears socks with sandals.
Why do you think that?
Sandals and socks just are not a good aesthetic. Just let the dogs out.
What's your name and what do you think is the biggest red flag in a guy?
My name's Bella, and I don't know if this is the biggest one, but if he's rude to like a waiter or a waitress, that's kind of icky because it's like, no, be respectful. Like if they don't say thank you when the waiter does something for them, or if they just speak to them like, I'll have this, and then just like, no, please, or thank you, or things like that. And if they don't tip well either, just have me pay then and I'll tip. Because that's just so disrespectful. That's so embarrassing because then the waiter thinks that I'm with a guy who doesn't tip well, and that's just like, ew, that's so embarrassing.
How much tip should one give to the waiter?
At least 20%. Unless the waiter was terrible, like spit in your food or something. Then maybe you shouldn't give them 20%. You should probably speak to a manager about that. But 20%, yeah.
When you're talking with them and they just go on about themselves and like don't ask you questions, I think that's one of the red flags for sure.
Have you personally experienced that recently?
I have never. I have like a lot of lady friends and then I heard their stories and like that's where I'm coming from, low-key.
What's your name and what do you think is the biggest red flag in a guy?
Hi, I'm Mabel, and I think the biggest red flag is when they can't laugh at themselves and they take themselves too seriously. I've been on a couple dates where I'm the entertaining one. They've just been boring, and yeah.
What's your best joke?
No.
My name's Hasana, and my biggest red flag in a girl, I think, is being really into astrology and like angel numbers and whatnot. I think all of that can be like helpful for your own personal peace, and a lot of people are very spiritual, of course, but if you're too into it, it's just like a ick. I would rather you learn who I am as a person rather than like assuming who I am based off of the stars aligning.
My name is Faith, and I think the biggest red flag in a girl or anyone that I can come across is if they don't like music or say they don't listen to music. I can't even comprehend that. I can't even give a reason as to why or like a personal example. Like in my mind, I'm just like, what is wrong with you? How can you not like music? I feel like music is just ingrained in our souls. It goes back generations. If you don't listen to music, I think you're boring and you have no imagination. I said it, all right?
What's your favorite music?
Oh my god, I can say Drain Gang in both of my interviews. Drain Gang. I'm a huge drainer. Like I love Drain Gang for sure.
Can you give some song recommendations?
Oh my god. Listen to The Flag is Raised by Blade and Echo 2K from Drain Gang. I think that is the most easily digestible song for someone that has not fallen down the Drain Gang rabbit hole yet.
My name's Emily, and I think it's guys who post too much about themselves, like they're huge narcissists on like social media and stuff. If he posts himself just in his suit in like different angles, just like flexing, and you know, he's doing too much.
My name is Hamari. I think the biggest red flag is when somebody really hates TikTok. I just think they want to hate on something that's popular just for the sake of it.
What's your name and what do you think is the biggest red flag in a girl?
My name is Miles, and my biggest red flag is if they still have a Visco in their bio on Instagram and if they have excessively dyed hair. I've just run into a large couple problems and I have a large history with them, and you know, it looks good. There's some people that can just style with it, but personally for me, I've had bad history. Actually, in high school, there was this notorious girl with very, very dyed hair, one half pink, one half blue, and she accused me of cheating on our test in high school, and I actually didn't, and it was a whole case, but I won the case.
My name is Rayhan, and I think the biggest red flag is when they're rude to service workers. Let's say you take someone out on a nice date to a restaurant and the waiter brings around the wrong food. She gets very angry, gets very shouty. It's not a good thing. Big red flag.
My name is Ayana, and my biggest red flag, I would say, is being a D1 athlete.
Why is that?
Just the ones I've talked to, just very one-dimensional. All they want to do is talk about their sport and very just self-centered. If anyone has anything to like prove me otherwise, I'm open to that. But
I'm Nate, and I think the biggest red flag is the backwards hat with the really curly hair on the sides.
Why do you think that?
In general, they seem to be douchey.
My name's Eris, and I think that the biggest red flag is probably like the sandals without socks. It just seems really unhygienic for some reason. Like the hairy toes just out, and it's sad.
My name is Abram, and I think the biggest red flag is closed-mindedness. If they're not willing to try new things, or if they don't understand something, try to understand. If they just think, oh, I can't do it.
Have you personally experienced that?
I haven't personally experienced that with anyone I've been like pursuing, but I've met people that automatically give me like oh, they're not gonna try.
My name is Autumn, and the biggest red flag in a guy is shoe game. If I have better shoe game than you, it's over. Or even outfit, like what you wear. I feel like that's like the first thing I notice. Like when I look at a person, when I'm walking, I look at your feet and then you, and then.
What's your favorite brand for shoes?
I'm just now kind of getting into shoes, but I really like Jordans. I want to get some more ones. I want the Mocha ones, but they're like taxing, but I don't want to pay for them. But
What shoes are you wearing?
some Yeezys. I wear these at school in class.